I think the starting point for publishers is they need to understand what the viewability is on their own inventory or on their own site. So I think the starting point is an audit, so they can work with a vendor, a viewability vendor, to determine what kind of buckets of viewability they have on their own sites. I think then what they need to do is look at that site and work out how do they maximise viewability, and there's a number of different tactics. So a really easy one is to rejig the ad emplacements on the pages of the sites to maximise viewability. So something that we're seeing, for example, is ads that are placed at the top of the page typically can have low viewability scores. The metric for viewability is 50% of the ad for 1 second. So what we're finding is consumers go to content sites and quickly scroll down to where the content is, and the ads at the top of the page disappear out of view before we've had a chance to record that 50% of the ad for 1 second. So I think publishers can look at simple things like that. I think publishers can also look at their CMS systems, so content management systems. Most content management systems load the editorial and then the ad. It might not be ideal for the publisher, but there's an opportunity to maybe load the commercial spaces first and then load the editorial, in the hope that you keep the consumer on the page because they're there to read the editorial, and then they get the opportunity to see the ad as well. So there's a number of different tactics. That's just two, but I think the publishers can use those tactics to hopefully maximise viewability. So ads being blocked from publisher sites, that is an important issue today. So there's lots of talk around ad blocking and that reducing the number of ads that a publisher has to sell. So this is different. This isn't ad blocking, this is content verification. So this is an advertiser making a call and saying whether a page is right and relevant for their brand. So what can a publisher do? I think a publisher can work with a vendor. First, they can educate themselves in the vendor's technology, and they can understand how the technology works and how it affects their site and what the advertiser is and isn't looking for. So in terms of our technology, Integral Ad Science monitors 7 topics, things like pornography, hate speech and violence, and we give advertisers advice on the content on the page and whether the content of the page has those topics on the page or not. A publisher can work with a vendor to identify any issues on their site, and obviously avoid proposing those impressions or those pages to an advertiser if the advertiser is working with a vendor or supplier. So I think it's first and foremost it's education, it's understanding the technology, and then it's working with a vendor to advise the advertiser on what pages on the publisher site are relevant for that advertiser or not. Fraud affects the whole ecosystem. So in the UK, we see around about 12.5% of all impressions that we monitor are fraudulent. Now, quality publishers, by that I mean ComScore 100 publishers, have probably around about a 6% problem. That problem increases when we look at exchange environments, and it can go up to as much as 30%. So quality publishers have less of a problem, but 6% of impressions is still sizable and should be dealt with. So I think what publishers can do is work with a vendor. They can audit their own inventory, and where they see instances of fraud, they can basically weed that out of the impressions that they're potentially offering to an advertiser. And I think that's probably the best advice we can give to a publisher.